Oh, welcome to the family hour of the YadaYah blog. We are here and now. We really have a full cast of characters. It's great to see everybody. Dr. Jeff, you got moved down into the circle here on our show. You are obviously in the hospital with mask on and like you're ready to go to help somebody survive.
Indeed, I am, and as you know, hopefully, I won't have too much circular thinking here.
Okay, well, it's good to see you. We've got Leah over there with Cara, and she's got the fancy the headdress, the matching necklace. We're looking very stylish there, and picked a very fine hat up on your road. Is that your entry road to your property, Kevin?
It is, yeah. It's the driveway.
Okay, well, good to see you here this evening. You have any more comments on my shirt before we go on?
Not when we're live, I don't.
Oh, okay, well, there we go. JB, how are you?
Doing good today.
Yeah, good. And Will? Anything new?
Yeah, I'm doing well. You look like you're dressed like the Palmoni tonight, Yada.
I am. I went full Palmoni this evening.
My little Palmoni.
Somebody said it was family hour. They was looking for her little Palmoni, and I'm doing the best I can to comply. How you feeling down there, Captain Kirk?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you've now gone 3 full days without any treatment. Sweet,
Well,
huh?
Yes.
Are you like 20, 30% back to normal and any change?
Oh, it's they said it would take a while, and they were right. But that's not a big deal.
Okay, so you don't bounce back immediately and say, all right, that was
no. I had high hopes they didn't, but they won.
Okay.
You have great color. You look good.
Yeah, you have really good color.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's the lighting and the makeup.
The lighting and the makeup.
And you're glowing.
You're glowing. Wookie wants everyone to say, I know that he's here as well.
Hey, Wookie.
Yeah, but he doesn't have his ears on, so he's not so sure. What we're going to do this evening is really fairly interesting. But before we start on figuring out what the actual name is for that person that Christians have searched for years trying to find who their Antichrist is, and of course there's no Antichrist, there's no Christ, but there is a nefarious fellow that has already arrived, and he is reigning disaster all over America and the world, and soon to be Israel as well. And we're going to find out what the name that God chose for him. So that'll be an interesting part of the program. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the website. I don't know if you can bring it up, Rich, but it would be interesting if you can go to first the translation page of the website. We have updated. This is Joe. He's spent a lot of time with Leah on this too. But why don't you put in just Genesis? That'd be fine. Right now, don't write down there. Okay, Genesis. That's fine. And then you don't want all's a little much there, pal. But all right, we'll leave it at all for There you go. And I'm laughing. And all is that I have translated really all of Genesis, so it's going to all show up. But here we are, where it will bring up every time the first heading you can see is Genesis 1:1, Barashit, Genesis 1:1, and it will present it every time that I have translated it. It will not only show you the book it's in, that would be YadaYah Bereth beginning. That's a very good place to start. And it would be in the chapter 1, Bara. If you click that link, it would take you directly to the book. That's the page turner book. You go directly to the book where the translation was, so you can go up and read the introduction to it, and you can go down and read the commentary based upon it. So that's kind of a really nice way to go back and forth and see it. all together, all the various translations together, or in commentary. And you can see this is just all the presentations of that first statement and how it's presented. Now, then you have Bereshith, Genesis 1-2. You can see at the bottom of the page there, and it would have all the variations of it throughout. So this is something we wanted to do. The advantage of this versus anything we've had in the past is that it doesn't bring up the translation little box, and you don't have to pick the chapter and verse. You can pick a chapter and a verse if you want to, but you can do the entire book and read through the entire book of Genesis, for example, or you can read through an entire chapter. Just recently we were looking for things in the 22nd Mizmowr, and I didn't have to look up every verse. I just say 22nd Mizmowr, and there it was. The entire thing all the way through, and it was just really helpful. So that is one thing you'll notice over there. Now click on the glossary. So now click on a letter. Aleph is fine. This is the glossary that our friend Captain Kirk has been working on for a very long time. And you can go on down and you'll look at some of here's some of the words, Ab is the first entry in the Hebrew lexicon. It means father. It is presented in each of the fonts. For some reason right now, the ancient Hebrew font doesn't appear to be there, which is our version, but and it was there earlier, so I don't know what happened to it or why it's not showing on this computer. But anyway, we do have the glossary for each of the letters that's still being written. Go ahead and click on another letter, and you can see that's just fine. Go on down.
This is
You clicked
fantastic.
on it, so go on down, and you can see all. Now this one does have it. This has all the letters with the Tasdi and all the words that begin with the Tasdi in the new YadaTorah script. It's got the that Babylonian square script for modern Hebrew readers. It's got the strong numbers. It tells you if it's a verb, a noun, preposition, whatever it might be. And then you've got, and I think these are probably Captain Kirk's glossary entries from long ago that we just never managed to get posted previously.
Oh.
So there it is. That's a pretty darn good beginning. Let's go up to the top again. And I want you to click on Dead Sea Scrolls. So here's Dead Sea Scrolls. Pick in a book, you can pick Bereshith again, Genesis 1. Okay. Click on, there we go. Go. All right, here we are. And so this is from the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is, again, a work in process. This is the first pass on it. But that has, in that olive color and that square script, it has the Babylonian Hebrew script. It has the letters that are actually on each of the scrolls. There are two scrolls that have Bereshith Genesis 1:1. 4Q Gen B and 4Q Gen D are the two that have it. The light green is the part of the text that had to be supplied that was not in the scrolls, but that olive green is confirmed in the scrolls, and that's exactly the way it's written. Now we're going to add to this another presentation of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the exact same way, verse by verse, but from a presentation that has a 4-color coding of it's not a very good translation, but it gets you to the point. And it shows you with a red strike through what words were not found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but were in the Masoretic. A red underline, which is the words that were in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but not the Masoretic. So it's the opposite. One was in the Masoretic, but not in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The other one is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, not in the Masoretic. And then it has green and blue showing what words are confirmed in the Dead Sea Scrolls and but the English versions of them, because most people read English. It says what the English versions is, and a blue version might be that there's a spelling difference of some sort. And so between those, you'll be able to look up very quickly and find out what word in a particular statement was altered by the Masoretes, where it is different in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then you can go to this version and you can read what the word is that appears in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So it's a really marvelous tool and gives the site a lot more oomph. Just click on media for fun while we're here. So on media, these are, and we're going to redo this page here shortly because we have, for example, 4 Facebook accounts. We have another 3 YouTube accounts beyond the 3 that are there. So we're going to add the more full array of where we are and make the page even more interesting. But this gives you some idea where we are. Click, go back to the top. If you could click timeline. And this says, for example, the beginning of the time of Israel's troubles, Jacob's troubles, is 83 days, 11 hours, 18 minutes, 21 seconds. So it's not a long time now, and then we're running thin on that clock. And then this has the timeline. You can scroll through that briefly there, Rich. And we're going to create some video presentations here before long. You can go all the way down. You can just keep on going down. You can see the highlights on the time zone is timeline as to when things happened along the way, and the Exodus occurred. Who was the Pharaoh of that time when the first temple was completed? We have year Yah and year BCE. So we can go back up to the top.
Look, it's Rich. Did you see
Yep.
that?
Now, we used to have a media button up there. I don't know what happened to not the media music button. I thought. But we don't. I don't know what happened yet. So let's go to the blog. So this is the blog, and it has probably now just yesterday or 2 ago was the last time I transferred material to it. But now we have essentially a blog like you would find on Facebook. This probably is a variation of my Facebook page transferred to a secondary site that I'll keep current. That's a way to keep up with the news and what we're saying about certain events. So we can go back up again. So we have to find out why the music was removed, but it was. And let's go to the books.
Excuse me.
And here on the books, you can see each of the books comes in 3 different versions. You can click on the book itself or just that book with the marker, and you'll go to the page turners. And those will work on your computer, television, tablet, or phone. And you can read by chapter. You can see there's a whole lot of tools down there at the bottom that enable you to bookmark. We have made it possible for people to copy and paste out of these. You can go forward and back by chapter. You can print this. That'll be handy for you, Kirk. It's really a comprehensive suite of tools down there at the bottom. And so we'll go back up to the top again. So this is the YadaYah site as it exists. There is a music tab that somehow got misplaced, but pretty darn spectacular.
Wow.
On how it has developed, how it's so interactive. And then what these are here, you can click on any one of these. You can see these are our most recent programs, and you'll be able to listen to the program. Yeah, there you go. So it'll play. But you notice when that program played, you didn't have to go actually to Facebook. Or to YouTube. That is actually playing on one of our YouTube channels. It's and that's important because YouTube has purchased and has the backbone to be able to have all of these. These are enormous files. A video file like this is gargantuan in its length and the megabytes of the file. And they will store it, and they have to have huge bandwidth to play it. But so we're actually playing from YouTube site. So you can see the bottom right there where it says YouTube when you click on it. So that's playing from YouTube, but you didn't leave our website. Isn't that pretty cool?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So this
So-
this is YadaYah.com as it is. It's been Leah's evening project with Joe is to after her normal day. Leah and Joe are both night owls, and they work on the site. Well, there's, for example, that's one of the songs right there. You can see down at the bottom a featured song. So I just think it's a beautiful presentation. It's something that I'm really proud of that we have developed here. We can go ahead and play a little bit of that.
No.
And that does. There it goes.
Hey, Kevin?
I say it's come a long way in a short time.
I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And it's so beautiful. And it's more than just all of the glitz here. And it's so darn interactive. But I want you also to know that Joe must have, I don't even know how many, 100, it's got to be up into the 1,000-hour range. Being the publisher of these books, he and Leah created the new covers for all of them. And then we worked to refine the covers, and then we refined the way we were presenting the text inside the books. And so we really worked to make the books as professional as we possibly could. And Joe went through every single book to get these things in a format that would show as PDFs, as flip books here on the site, which was quite an adventure.
And the KDP.
And then at Amazon, so that they could all be purchased, and all the books are uploaded, and they're all new. All 35 of them are new at Amazon. So this is really
He's a one-man show.
this is really spectacular.
Yeah.
What has transpired here, and that's YadaYah.com. So when we do Leah does her promotions, the promotion material, which we're going to have one of the links on that top
The
bar.
media.
Yeah,
probably.
it's not just going to be the songs, but also the promotions. But when we say "Do you Yada" and then have the YadaYah.com bar or the logo down at the bottom, this is what we're directing people to. This is where Yahweh's message resides, and it is growing, expanding, refining.
This is Yahweh's house.
Yeah, tremendous.
Like
This
this.
is tremendously. Yeah, this is as close to Yahweh having a house that he's had now in 2,600 years.
Yeah.
So you can laugh at my shirt, Kevin, but you can't laugh at my website.
No.
No. Wouldn't. No. Never.
Never. I'm just kidding you. But isn't that spectacular? I mean, it's,
We have definitely brought it a
It's-
long way in 1 year.
It's
Wow.
it's fantastic. It's
Okay.
fantastic.
so there you are, Kirk. Your glossary is
Digitized.
now
I did about that
digitized.
much.
Yeah, there you go.
A little
Yeah,
bit.
one of the things we're
There you
working
go.
on now is that I noticed that in our translations, I've known this for a long time, but there's never been a good way to differentiate an
Ayin and an Aleph.
an aleph and an ain in Hebrew transliterations. The old school was you had a forward or a backward single quotation mark, which would also be an apostrophe. On a closed quotation mark, it'd be an apostrophe. But the single quotation mark, closed and open, was the pedantic way of doing it, but no one ever knew what that stood for. So it didn't help anybody because they didn't know what it stood for. And then it doesn't work in Microsoft Word because Microsoft Word commandeers quotation marks and decides how they think you want to convey it. And there's so many different styles that it didn't work. So I came up in conversations with Joe just the other day with a way that we could do it that no one's done it before, because we've now come up with our own font by looking at the lead tablet found on Mount Ebal and looking at all of the variations of of what is that most ancient script, because some people call it Canaanite, some people call it Phoenician, some people call it Paleo Hebrew, some call it Moabite stone. It has 100 different names, but it's the original
It's
pictograph
Paleo
script.
Hebrew.
And so we looked at every nation around the region, all of which have a variation of that script. And we looked at the earliest versions we could find, what they were trying to say and how it was drawn. And so we actually created our own font. So that's by the way, and that's on the resources there. If you click on resources at the page, you'll find that font, and you can just click on it and it downloads. It's exceedingly easy to download. You download it, you click on the file, you download it, and it will bring up a window. You say install, and that's it. You're done. And we've actually now remastered that one so that you can type it intelligently. If you hit the A key, it's going to bring up the LF. If you hit the Ain, which is drawn as an I, you would hit the I key on your keyboard and it'd bring up the Ain. The Hey is really from the H. We did it intelligently, so we mapped our keyboard to those letters, which is our most recent iteration. So now, what we're doing, and Perry is now here, and he's working with Joe on doing this, and I'm working on it too. Is we've actually come up with a superscript of the Ain and the Aleph, and so rather than the comma, we're replacing the comma with the superscript of the Ain or the Aleph, depending on which letter it was actually the one that we're transcribing with that, or transliterating with that letter. And it takes a while to do this. And once we do this, then we'll be able to link the translations that you saw. So all that page with all the translations, each word will have dots underneath it, which means it's linkable. And you'll click on that dot and it'll bring up a window that has right there in the midst of it, that has all of the definitions of that. So it's kind of a glossary, if you will, in the middle of the translations, but we couldn't do that until we rectify the
Ain and the Aleph.
The Ain and the Aleph. And it's a little more complicated than that because over the years, Hebrew originally had a shin and a shemek. The shin was the SH and the shemek was the H sound, but they added a sin. And that's really a challenge now in translation, because you take a word like NASA, it's typically in the verbal form, it's rendered by the Masoretes as NASA, but in the original Paleo Hebrew, you would the SA, SH, and the S would have been identical, same letter. And if you wanted the S sound independently, you would go to the shemek. And one of those words, because that's one of the two words that are found in the third statement, which is the unforgivable sin of demeaning or erasing, negating Yahweh's name. It's most likely that the proper word is actually the nasha versus nesha, nasha. So it's there are challenges, and there's two T's, actually three T's in Hebrew. One is the TS sound, and so. You're going to know if it's the TS sound because I'm going to write it as TS, but the Ta and the Teth are both written typically the same way. Sometimes you'll add an H occasionally, but otherwise they're written the same way. The shemek and the sin are both an S. And so when you're doing the transliteration, if you're trying to go from the transliteration to the correct definition, you've got some work to do to define which one it is. That's so when you were saying that you did an inadequate job, Kirk, and I said, no, it's actually my fault that I did not designate a Strong's number because I don't really use Strong's all that much. I prefer, there's much more powerful lexicons than Strong's. It's just that Strong's is available. Like the Dictionary of Biblical Language is vastly superior to Strong's, but you can't access it online, so there's no database of it. It's only in printed books or put in programs like the Logos program that I use. And so without that, it's very difficult without also encapsulating the definition that I have of correctly linking it to the right word, because it'd be two S's. And one of the challenges with Strong's, if you're going to use their transliterations, is they transliterate the shemek as a C. not as an S. So things like nesh, which means banner and sign, they have it as neck, N-E-C, when it's nesh with a shemek. And so if we transliterate it with a shemek, our transliteration is not going to match Strong's, which is the popular one that everybody knows the numbers and uses. So it is, translation is an art form. It is which Joe, who is a computer programmer, database manager, has learned, is that you can't push a button and say, all right,
Nope.
how do these things play together?
Nope.
So that's our challenge. So it's really the omission that I had, because I didn't think anyone would ever care, really, so long as I give you something that you can put in a search engine or just you Google it and find it, then that was good enough. Well, for the kind of presentation we're making now, where we're interlinking all these things together, it's not good enough anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so Perry is man on the job, and we're going to try to get that done throughout the books. The current book that I'm writing right now, I am using it. So it's you'll see the Paleo Hebrew superscripts, which is just such a clever way to do it, because it tells you immediately. Is that the eyeball of the Ain, or is that the rams and bull's head of the Aleph? So lots of things that we're doing, trying to make that site as robust as we possibly can. And you can tell I'm proud of what we have accomplished.
Well,
And I use we, and that the content is mostly mine, but the workings of it are the style of it's Leia's, and the workings of it are Joe. Yeah, he has put that whole thing together, and huge amount of the content is as well. All right, so there he is again, the masked man that pops in and out as if you're trying to save people's lives, and if that's important. He's not even hearing us down there.
I would like to say something
You
before
do.
you get started.
Okay.
Yes. We have some good news this week.
What's that?
We have a couple who are celebrating their first Shabbat together.
Oh, wow.
Who is that?
That would be Mariah and her husband, Russell.
Really?
Oh,
Well,
that's
So-
wonderful.
May your
if-
home be filled with shalom, dear.
every one of us knows and loves Mariah.
Yes.
She's a
Mariah
dear.
is one of the great women I have met in my life. I mean,
She's a rock.
she
Yeah.
is a rock. She is, and I mean that in the highest positive sense. And
yes.
she's got great judgment, great character. She's enthusiastic.
Easy to work with.
easy,
friendly.
exceedingly easy
Very
to
bright.
work with. So we love all of us. We just adore Mariah, and
And
Mariah
the
has-
covenant is better when shared.
Yes, but Mariah, as she has been exceedingly complimentary of her husband. I mean, every time that she
Mhm.
mentions her husband, which we do not know because I've never corresponded with him, but she says, "I just love my husband. He is just such a great man." And so what Leah is suggesting here is they're actually celebrating the Shabbat together for the first time. So perhaps that's a start of something very good. It would be wonderful for her and he to have that added part of their relationship. So wonderful. All right, we're going to return to where we were.
Where were we?
We were in the 89th Mizmowr is where we were, and I told you we were about to move through a statement that I thought was one of the most challenging you could imagine trying to translate. And I'm going to repeat that because it introduces the next statement. But that the next statement, we're going to meet a character, and he's not a nice guy. This is a really, really bad character. And
that guy.
and what's interesting about this character is that so far, no one has been able to stand up to him. He devours everybody. But Yahweh has, he's seen the future. He knows he has a guy.
Got a guy.
And that guy that I was kind of having fun with about the waves and the rolling stones and being grating and irritating and all that sort of thing.
Oh, you mean my guy?
That guy. Yeah,
Okay.
that
Your guy.
guy. So
Gotcha.
Your guy.
recognizing how prevalent religion and politics have become among the Israelites and Israel today, particularly even going back all the way to the days of Shaul, where in the days of Shaul, they had they had their issues. I mean, he even became demon possessed, and he went from there to Dowd becomes king, and then Dowd had his he had 48 wonderful years, and then he had some hiccups, and the Bathsheba thing turned out poorly, and the Absalom rebellion was just horrible, that coup against Dowd. And so it's important for Ethan, who is the co-author of this Mizmowr. He was, I mean, you can definitely feel some enthusiasm for Ethan Hazraki as the Mizmowr begins, because he's introducing Yahweh, telling everybody what he knows about Yahweh, and occasionally he mentions something about himself, and he had one really bold quote of that Yahweh said about Dowd. But this, in a moment, this song goes so that the lyrics right to the end. From there, it's like Yahweh says, "Okay, kid, you did a fine job. Thanks for the introduction. I'll take it from here." And from that point on, it's all Yahweh. So, and this is a transition point. This is a transition point where Ethan is still speaking about what Yahweh is going to do and what Yahweh thinks about the plan going forward. And we're going to find out just in a moment that changes, where Yahweh says, "Okay, at this point, can you just pick up your pen and write down what I have to say?" So that's where we are in the text. And it's important now for Ethan to calm some raw nerves, because there was a bigger problem in Israel than just Dowd at this point. The nation was highly rebellious. It's kind of like the Exodus, where, if during the Exodus, they didn't even get to Nuiba Beach on the Egyptian side of the Gulf of Aqaba, and they were rioting against Moshe. And Moshe says, "What in the hell am I going to do? I've got the Egyptians on my back. I've got the sea in front of me, and the people are rebelling against me." And God's like, "Good God, man, could you just lift the staff? What do you think you're supposed to do? What do you think you're got that staff for? Just lift the damn staff, okay? And then walk across. I got this covered." But they were belligerent right from the beginning, and they turned on Dowd. And so there was a lot of raw nerves that needed to be dealt with. So in this regard, since it is apparent that the previous attestations that I shared with everybody a couple of days ago play right into the next one, these two verses play into each other, I'm going to recite again the one that is, I don't know. Well, I'll share it again, and then I'll get your opinions as to whether or not you've got the word picture, whether or not you follow the word picture, because it's pretty inside. Okay, so it says, "You convey." He's speaking to Yahweh. This is Ethan speaking to Yahweh. "You convey mashal, portraits comprised of words, when exercising your authority." You know that mashal has two very distinct meanings. The primary meaning of mashal is to draw a picture with words, a parable, a proverb, to communicate in a way that's memorable. Right? The second meaning of mashal is to lead, to govern, to be in charge of a community so as to guide them and protect them. So when you see mashal, you're always put in a position where you can choose one or both of those meanings. In this case, I thought they both applied. So you convey portraits comprised of words when exercising your authority, gloriously triumphing with the surging sea, agitating by majestically raising the illustrious and reoccurring force of the one from the west who can be abrasive, by lifting up his rolling rocks, stones, if you will, among the turbulent waves so as to serve as a witness. You laud and extol them with exuberant statements commending their value, eliminating the noise, calming the chaos, and quieting the situation through them. Now, before we go on to the next statement, Bill, I'm going to put you, or Will, I'll put you on the spot. When I read that, is that something that resonates with you? Do you know what he's talking about? Or is that just like, what in the world? That's a word salad.
Things usually don't strike me that quickly. I need to sort of noodle it over and think about like the implications and where it's going. You know what I mean? It takes me. I have a process that I use to sort through that. So right off the bat, it's almost like it's like the 4th of July. It's like there's fireworks in my head. I have all these different ideas around it, and then I start sorting through what makes the most sense with it. But
Okay, so you're not quite there yet. So is the
No.
answer? Which,
I know what it
which, by
means.
the way, it's an honest answer. Before we get
Yep.
to Leah, JB, what do you think?
Kind of the same. I wish I had the text up in front of me, but I can't find my document right now. I do
Okay,
better
so
when
it's
I follow
okay.
along with
So
the
that's
text.
that is really tough to follow without being able to read it. Kevin, any thoughts?
Oh yeah, there's lots of pictures there. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah.
have the one that draws the pictures that's in charge, the sea, his rocks that are calming, the chaos that's around them. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
3 or 4 different pictures that are, as we do in graphic arts, layered on top of there.
Yada,
You can see a
yada,
piece of
yada.
each one
Yeah.
behind-
Yeah,
behind
no
it.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yada,
Yeah,
you've changed that translation's been updated, correct? Because that's
Mhm,
very
yes.
different from my Psalm 89. That's why I'll have to work through it, because it was very different verses 3 and 4 than what you've had. It's another way of looking at it. It's very fascinating, but it's brand new.
Yeah,
Like I
most
know
of the time.
89, I could almost recite the old one, but
Yeah,
you worked through it. a little bit.
and typically when I was doing it, this would be this and other statements. I couldn't figure them out. So I even though I've translated the 89th Psalm 20 times, 15 of those 20 times I just skipped right past this
Yep.
because
You know what it meant.
The symbolic language was too much to try to process, and it was probably a day and a half to work through it.
Yeah.
Even now, I have sent everybody. I didn't resend it today, but last week, for example, this most recent pass through the 89th is part of that distribution. I know you can't see it there, Dr. Jeff, so I won't put you on the spot. And Kirk, do you want to chime in before we go to Leo?
Well, I recognize you in there, but I can't. I've got an old copy, so I haven't got what's
Okay.
current. You were
All right. What do you think, Leo?
Well, Itan ha Izrahi. First of all, we have polluted the name Izrahi, and we attribute Mizrahi Jews to that name.
Yes.
Absolutely inappropriately.
Yeah. The Jews misappropriate the name Izrahi, which doesn't appear in this particular text, but
Mhm.
nonetheless, if you don't know who he is, you'll never get this.
And you can't counterfeit him.
And what they do, Ethan means one who is eternally deployed, one who is routinely inserted, one who is commonly applied. It speaks of somebody that comes into a situation, and God has used him for a long period of time in many troubling situations. He's who you're going to call? I got a guy. And it's always the same guy.
The fixer.
When Moshe had his Moshe had his meltdown. I got a guy. I got a fixer. Dowd had his meltdown. I got a guy. He's my fixer, and that's the guy that goes in. And if you think that, and that's what Ethan says, I'm that guy. And when we read about Ethan's history, he is clearly that guy. Izrahi is a name that Jews have misappropriated to native born. It doesn't say anything. There's nothing in the etymology that says native born. The root of the word speaks of a tree, and so they get from tree to native roots in the native soil. Thus, for he must be a native person. But the root of the word is tree, and so this is somebody that springs forth as a tree. Well, you don't have to be the sharpest player to say, all right. A tree. Where's the first time the trees appear? Well, that's the two trees in the garden, right? That's Genesis 2. And then when that tree, that by the way, the tree of knowledge is the starring character
Yeah.
in the garden story. It's not Adam. It's certainly not Shabuw'ah.
Oh, God,
The most discussed character in that story is the tree of knowledge, and it leads to the tree of lives. But the interesting thing here is that Yahweh goes off and tells you who the tree of knowledge is, and through Yashayah 11, he says that the Etz is the choder. and he says that I made the choder, the Etz through the application of my Ruach spirit. So the Ezraki is the tree that is, and Etzah being the one who can delineate the entire story from beginning to end. You know why he can tell you the whole story from beginning to end?
Been there.
He knows.
He's been there. Yeah.
Been there
The
and done it.
soul is now 5,400 years old.
Well, there you go.
He's been
There
there.
you go.
He knows the whole story from beginning to end. He's acted in it. So that helps you now know who he's talking about. So I'll go back through it because it's important to know, because he's the guy, the one that God is talking about here. He is the same guy, the guy with the stones. He's the same guy that is
Churning
going
up the
that's
sea.
going to take down the deplorable demon-possessed one in the next statement. Okay, so it is important to know who he is. So I'm just not playing with everybody here. It's really important to know who this fellow is. So I'm going to read it again, and then I'm going to test either we'll get Rich or Perry over here on Answer Man. So it says,
I wasn't done.
"Oh, you have
I
more?
had so much more. Yeah, I was
Okay,
just
well,
getting
go.
started.
You go, girl."
Okay. The sea, the reference to the goy.
Yes.
The rocks, the reference to crag,
Mhm.
which reference the choder, the nesh,
Yep.
the nakar,
Mhm.
all leading back to the goy, the man of Edom, Adama Parah. It paints a very global picture
Mhm.
of who this person is.
When Yahweh first
And it says, hey, this is who I am.
when Yahweh first revealed his presence to Moshe, what was where did he do that? From what?
The Krag.
From a rocky crag.
That's
And
right.
were they in the land or were they out of the land?
Outside
Out of the land.
Out of the land.
Yeah, they were on Mount Choreb. And from Mount Choreb, Yahweh appeared as a crag.
Yep.
Fire on the crag. And so
It wasn't a burning bush.
that is correct. And God
No, it
uses
wasn't.
the idea of this sharp crag throughout his story. He's really fond of this sharp crag.
So why a
Oh,
sharp crag?
oh.
Because men cannot walk on it, they can't stand on it,
Mhm.
and they can't overcome
Well,
it.
mostly
Good point.
because it's divisive.
Very.
Well,
Cuts.
it's spicy.
You're on one set of the
Yeah.
other, man. It's tough as stone. And you chisel something into a crag, you can't use your magic eraser. It doesn't blot out. The crag is tough as stones, and what he says stands. And he's sharp. And sharp can mean you can view it as intelligent, which Yahweh says that crag is, or you can view it as that sharp edge cuts. You know, when you hear Choreb, you know the Choreb means two primary things. One is this was a desolate place.
Yeah.
And so he was bringing life in a desolate place. What better place to bring the story of life than in a place that had none? And the backdrop was perfect. From a theatrical point of view, it was perfect. But the second thing that Choreb means is
To
sword.
divide, cut.
Sword. Yeah, sword.
Yes.
To cut. All right. So those are all correct. So this begins with you have to say, what did Yahweh say about Ethan Ha-Ezraki? He said he wrote 30 of the 31
Mashal.
mashals. So now we're talking about mashal. So chances are he's talking about the same guy. So you convey mashal portraits comprised of words. This is going to be a word picture about the fellow that he collaborates with when drawing these word pictures for the purpose of leading and guiding his people. So you convey mashal portraits comprised of words. So Leah is correct. that when exercising your authority, that this is the first clue. He's talking about Ethan Hajraki and all the characters throughout time that Ethan Hajraki has played. Gloriously triumphing with the surging sea, agitating by majestically raising the illustrious and reoccurring force of the one from the west who can be abrasive. Now,
That'd be you, darling.
yeah, okay. So part of this is, it sounds stupid. I mean, it really does, even from my ear. But that's what the words say. When you read things like glorious, triumphant, majestically, illustrious, you say, okay, God, come on, you can temper it down. I know.
Tone it down, please.
But that's not God.
It's not his style.
It's just not God's style. And so
No.
Brag on the kids.
we're just not. Yeah, that's right. He doubts on his kids. So this is who he is, and he's never going to change. When you read the rest of the 89th Mizmor, I mean, just after he has said 30 wonderful things about Dowd, then he just goes over the top. But that's who he is. That's his
It's like
style.
when your kids bring home their first crayon picture and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is so beautiful.
Yeah.
This is the most magnificent art in the world.
Yeah,
Of course.
This is
the
Kirk-
same
this is-
thing.
This
And
is
they
Kirk-
become artists.
It's
yeah,
highly
this is
uncomfortable,
Kirkian.
but yeah.
They'll
All
get
right,
real jobs.
Yes, but okay. So those words seemed over the top, and they would be over the top. Well, they are over the top, but they're from Yahweh, and He's over the top. That's just, and part of that is that God's gone for
I think
all of
what
this
we're-
time since the garden, 6,000 years, and there's maybe 3 or 4 handfuls of people He's been able to relate to.
Okay, so wait, stick a pin in it.
Ooh.
Yeah. You're 5,400 years old. How many times have you been inserted into this timeline over and over
There you
to
go.
keep this from going off the rails? It is pretty
Yeah, at lea-
magnificent
Yes.
the way that Yahweh is using
Yeah,
the Baal
yeah. Of
and
course.
his Asher.
Yeah, the fact is, as we get later in this psalm, Yahweh's going to go beyond saying that if all the things that I have said about Dowd are not accurate, He doesn't just say that you can call me a liar.
No.
He says, then I will have failed.
Yes.
Then I will have failed. Which means that if this 89th Mizmor didn't deliver the result that God wanted, if that intervention that He made possible through His Amma, His productive mother, and her husband, and who is now Ethan Hajraki, if that did not work,
That's a title.
we don't exist.
Yep.
No.
The world is over. There is no fulfillment of anything going forward. It's all over. Dowd does not fulfill Pesach, Matzah, Makodim.
No.
By the way, there wouldn't even be a Jesus because there would be no character to build the myth
you
off
know.
of.
No.
There'd be no Judaism because there'd be no reason for a rival Bar Kokhba. The world would have already self-destructed. Yeah, I would have no reason to tamp it down. We're not here. Okay, so there was a lot going on here. So Yahweh was really pleased that we had a good result. But He does His normal thing. I say it lovingly, He cheats. It's not that
Well-
that we went in and
Is he cheating or are we cheating?
that we were spectacular. As I said, once we get through the introduction of the 89th Mizmor, God says, "Okay, kid, that was great and everything, but I'll take it from here." And so you are delivering His testimony.
Who delivered the
Quick.
18th Mizmor to you?
Yes, Dr. Jeff.
I was going to say, Craig and Leah, allow Yah to be hyperbolic. He thinks the
Really?
world of you. 5,400 years onward from Hanan
Yeah.
forth.
he does.
And the
He
point
does.
that Leah makes is a very cogent and brilliant point, that starting with the rocky crag and the sea and the goy, and then the Odem Adam
Yes.
coming round circle, making the reference back to Esau to bring
Yes.
home the family, to unite the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yisrael and Yahudah. It's just amazing. It's amazing. So he is very, very proud, and without you, we would all be in the abyss. There would be we wouldn't be. there'd be an abyss.
I mean, we have to be a bit careful here, and I want to say, here's the bit careful, is that God created the soul. He picked his soul. He prepared the soul. He trained him. He inserted him with all the tools necessary to complete the job. And then when he did as he was programmed to do and taught to do, prepared to do, then Yahweh went, that was really good. That was really good.
You left out a big part.
Yes.
He did what Adam didn't
Well, that's
do.
true. That's true.
He taught his wife.
Yeah.
What
That's
a
true.
dangerous thing to do, to
Yeah, I
teach
did.
a girl
Oh,
to
boy.
read
Boy,
Torah.
I did teach my wife. And
Yeah.
I did, so I went way beyond what Adam did.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that part of it. It sounds over the top. I know that to most people's ears that would really sound ridiculous. Once you've been, as Dr. Jeff just said, once you've become really comfortable with YadaYah, you just know that's his style. And if somebody is working with YadaYah and you don't get that kind of a glowing survey and assessment, then there's something wrong, because that's just his style.
And if you don't do that with your own kids, there might be something wrong with you.
You should. But okay, so you convey mashal portraits comprised of words when exercising your authority, gloriously triumphing with the surging sea. The surging sea. God's only got one goyim that he goes crazy with. There's one goyim that's, I mean, he is, when you're dealing with Enoch in the beginning, he's goy. And every one of those insertions all the way through the process, even in Devarim 29, when Moshe is talking about what's going to happen in the future, he says the end times, it's going to be a Nakri. It's an observant foreigner that makes the difference. Obed-Edom that YadaYah in the 63rd chapter is talking about, that comes on the scene and jumps in that wine vat with YadaYah and is his Zarowa, the one cultivating his harvest. He is Obed-Edom again. He is a goy, and he's the one that saves Israel. So goy from the sea. That's why it's.
But he calls it a surging sea.
Yes.
Now, you and I both know, as divers and people who have lived on and been on many boats and on the water very often, is that a surging sea can be both lovely and very dangerous.
Of course. And particularly near the shore. Now, the reason he is talking about the surging sea is that the sea surges along the shore. So this is not a goy that is out just eroding Greenland. This is a goy whose influence is felt in the land of Israel.
Yes.
So that's when he says it's a surging sea. It's agitating and majestic, that as he raises up this illustrious and reoccurring force. Reoccurring force and surging sea is a similar concept. And the concept that brings them together is Ethan's name. Ethan names means perpetually reoccurring.
And what
waves are perpetual.
Yes.
They're constantly
out,
reoccurring.
Out.
Right. Surging sea, reoccurring force, and Ethan's name are parallels. Okay, so God, he does up his game occasionally. Sometimes sometimes you really have to pay attention to understand the word pictures and sometimes he tells you, okay, this is the word picture, figure it out. So, and it says one from the west.
That'd be you.
Yeah, that would be the same fellow who can be abrasive.
That'd definitely be you.
Now, abrasive is somebody you'll say, yeah, you're abrasive. I got no problem saying you got that one right. Agitating and abrasive. But God's agitating and abrasive.
About as abrasive as an SOS pad.
Right. Dowd was agitating and aggressive and abrasive. Absolutely. More so than any of them. Yeah. YadaYah is agitating and abrasive. If you're going to represent
Leah is agitating and abrasive.
She is. She is. That's true. That's what
the only way you polish stone, though. If you want stone to have that shiny finish, you just keep using lesser and lesser abrasive, but it's still abrasive. Yeah.
Tumbling them like a water would. Yes.
The other thing, Craig, is that in Yah's description of Eitan Hazraki and what you and Leah have done, what has always been the modus of operandi since you began this journey is you go where the words lead. And this is
Absolutely.
where the words have led. So
Right.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
And God wants us to figure it out. And he's not eliminating anonymity and getting to specificity for giggles. He
Hardly.
wants people to understand how he's working, who he's working with, how this all will play out, because then you're in a position to listen and trust and benefit. So God is giving you the heads up. This is what I'm doing. Yes, this guy is irritating as all get out. He's abrasive. He is constantly relentless. He just keeps on coming like the waves on the sea. But they will smooth out that coastline. You know, a coastline that hasn't had the sea hit it for a long time, like the volcanic coastlines of Hawaii. They're jagged. They're unapproachable. But you look at a coastline that the sea has approached for a very long time. It's soft, beautiful sand. You can walk there in your bare tootsies and feel the lovely nature of the waves as they lap around your feet. So it does work. And this is what God says is, I've used this for a long time. Then it says, by lifting up his rolling stones. Stone is, what does a bull have? You'd say a bull has, and that's the character that I was trying to work with.
Did they use the word aben?
Yeah, at this point.
The word was the word aben used?
Well, it's
Okay.
it's Galuth and Galam, but that's what the word
Interesting
means.
word,
So
yeah.
it speaks of a rolling rocks, moving stones that are in these turbulent waves to serve as a witness. And so the witness, the stones, and the waves, still all the same word picture, same individual, same purpose. And God said, now I'm telling you that this person is relentless, and they're agitating, and they're aggressive, and they're tough as stones, and they're from the sea, and he's from the west, and he's into word pictures. And then God said, and I'm using him. So my guess is, my advice to you is that if you don't like this, you may want to get out of the way. And then it says, you laud and extol them. And this is them is plural only because Galem from Gal speaks of these the stones in the plural sense. So he's speaking of, these guys got stones, and they're carried by the man from the west who is the raging sea. You laud and extol them. God's into this. This is saying, finally, good God, finally somebody is willing to stand up. And, and Moshe, wonderful man of character, and he did in his youth stand up to Mitzrayim, the taskmasters. But after that, when anytime that Israel revolted against him, he did a faceplant. He did not bow his back anymore. And now Dowd did occasionally, but most of the point when the Absalom rebellion came, for example, Dowd didn't confront that. He bailed out of town. So it's even in God's most important characters, there's not a lot of agitation of somebody. Dowd's words have agitation and grit, but not his life. And so now we're at a time where God says, I want grit.
Well, it's basically, testicular fortitude, and he loves it. And it goes back to being, again, chazak, 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 and that's what he's into. And he's created the way you are assembled now in modern parlance. It's right now, modern day era. You're like a George Carlin and a Don Rickles, and you're in your face.
Yes, with a heavy dash of Elijah, of YadaYah.
There you go.
With the sarcasm. God wanted somebody that's biting. That's what he chose, and that's what we're presenting. So it says, you laud and extol them. You're exuberant in your statements, and God is, boy, is he ever over the top. He is exuberant in his statements, commending their value for eliminating the noise, calming the chaos, quieting the situation. What's going to be really interesting as we experience Taruw'ah going forward
Mm.
That the Alaska flood 2.0,
Mhm.
which is going to be ignited just over a year from now. And it's going to be in the range of 1,000 times worse than Alaska flood of October 2nd, 23.
YadaYah.
And it's going to be just extraordinarily vicious around Israel. And by the halfway point of the time of Israel's troubles on Passover, which is April 18th of 2030, YadaYah and I will appear. And we're going to be really gritty at that point. We're going to be on the Temple Mount. It's going to be reconfigured. We've talked
Wait a
about
minute.
what that's always going to be.
You will have a +8.
Right. But you have to understand, I have a +8, but you have to understand that all around us, all around Jerusalem,
Nothing but chaos.
nothing but chaos and Islamic terrorists and terrible tragedy. And so in that zone around the Temple Mount where God is going to transform the remaining remnant of his people, there has to be some calm.
Yeah.
So you guys have some bets that, I don't suffer fools well, and I can occasionally cop a temper. And how long somebody is going to be able to say something stupid before I vaporize them.
Yep, and you've had a taste of what it's like to be in a Middle Eastern country.
Right.
It's very unpleasant.
Right. So we're going to calm that situation. That area around the Temple Mount is going to be a place where Yahweh gets to present his message. And if you want to say or do anything that's hostile to that,
bye-bye.
You are just gone.
We have zero tolerance.
It's a zero tolerance time. And so he's throwing stones at them. He is stoning them by way of this calming influence from his point of view. To stone the malcontents that are trying to destroy his people, from God's point of view, that's calming.
It's loving.
Okay.
It's a loving thing to do.
So now, Will, you've had a little more time to think about it. Does some of that resonate a little more?
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you what, that next the next verse that you or the verse that we're doing now, that one was always tricky. It was always about the boisterous afflictor and his false god, isn't it?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's just such a tough one. But now it's almost like you just have. Again, we talked about this. You have to have that paradigm shift, and I kind of feel that's kind of you have to just look at it with a fresh set of eyes, completely different, and you have to have that foundation that we've built for all these years diligently. But because this brings up another point, Yada. When we talk to people, I love all this new stuff that we're learning, but sometimes it's like, how am I going to, how do I communicate all this? This is a lot, and it's wonderful for us. It's nothing but good news for me, but I have to admit, I struggle with how am I going to communicate? It's one thing that you're the knackery, but this just
the answer is you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Kevin's up there nodding his head. Kevin was the first one to figure this out. And what you said is the amount of time we have left is not enough time for someone to read those books and to come up to speed. To be a solid, mature covenant member. We're out of time.
Yeah.
And we're going into Shabuw'ah with a dedicated team that is prepared for forevermore.
So all of this is for us, Yada.
Yeah. So what we're doing now
it's all
is
for the family.
We're not trying to reach out. We're not trying to transform Israel and to get a bunch of anti-Yahweh Israelis to all of a sudden accept Yahweh and to reject the rabbis. There isn't enough time to get that done. Okay. That job, YadaYah and I'm going to do. We have 3.5 years of it with Yahweh's support on the Temple Mount. And then Yahweh's going to bring in all the qualified Jews and Goyim from around the world to benefit from that solution. And then we have 1,000 years to make them right. So we have 1,000 years to get this right. We can't, and we'll get it right in 1,000 years with them. Yeah. We're not going to be able to get them right in the time we have left.
Hell no.
So what we're doing, Will, is actually for you.
Yes.
Yeah. It is for Kirk. It is for Dr. Jeff. It is for Kevin. It is for JB. It is for Leah. It is for Rich. That is it is for us. So because we have to leave as a team that we all are so tight, so comfortable working together, productive. We are a well-oiled machine that
We need to get seamless.
that God knows that he can reinsert us and we're going to get the job done, because although we have a lot of time to do it, you just can't stumble out of the gates. We're going to have to be prepared to do this job, which is to mentor, to exemplify, to teach, to guide, to judge,
Yes.
all of that. To
And
lead.
if I may,
Yeah.
if you thought it was difficult dealing with the goy or your family members or the people at work or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
wait until you get a load of us.
Mm-hmm.
Cut your teeth on that.
Right. The Jews that-
Because you better have some really thick skin. You better know what resilience is, and you better have some quick wit and bring your A game.
Yeah, the Jews that we're going to encounter in Israel over those last 3.5 years are going to be the same Jews that were part of the Exodus, the same attitude that rebelled against Dowd. That's who they are. They're not going to change for us. They're going to be. They're going to be who they are. The difference is that God's not fooling around anymore, and
neither are we.
And so we aren't either. And then when we move into the celebration of Sukkah for 1,000 years, and it's important to know, for us to know who we are and what we're going to do, and so that we're prepared to do this, that in this life where we have all the free will and we can choose to engage or disengage, learn or not learn, support or not support, it's really important that we refine the attitudes and aptitudes of the key team that will be doing this.
And
Yeah,
the
that's what-
public
that's what we're
needs
doing
to
now.
know that these are the two faces that are going to be there.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that when we come back, as we said we would do, as Yahweh said he would use this man, Itan ha-Izrahi, to do this, then
Yeah.
you need to listen.
Yeah, I mean, he has 100 names and titles.
Yes.
Just like
That's just one.
You know, he 2/3 of the way through the 89th Mizmowr, and he has 30 already for Dowd, and he just keeps on ramping them up. He has, for the people that he likes to work with, he has lots of functional working titles that describe who they are and what they're going to do. So what this has said so far is that that the person delivering this message to Dowd is not a subject of Dowd. He is not somebody that just walked in the
No.
door and
He's
said,
not Joe
you know, I think
Schmo.
I'm not real pleased with some of your behavior, and God wanted me to talk to you about it. No, he goes into Dowd and says, "Hey, pal, I'm shoulder to shoulder, eyeball to eyeball. I'm going to tell you who I am. I want you to know exactly what I'm going to do in the future. I want you to know what I've done in the past. I want to get your attention. I want to earn your respect by you having an understanding of what our working relationship is then, now, and forevermore. Because we're going to open the book. We're going to start at Bereshith, Genesis 1. And we're going to turn right to it and say, do you recognize that greater luminary? How about the lesser luminary? You know who that is? You know what their relationship is? Do you understand why it says that there are signs for the Moedim? You understand that you're going to fulfill the first three and I'm going to fulfill the next? You understand who we are together and how we're going to work together, and this is never going to end. So this is a way that God's going about that whole process of saying, the man that's going to deliver this message to you, he is your confidant. He is your supporter. He's going to play dad. He's going to be a father figure, and his wife is going to be a mother figure for you going forward. That's who this is. And so he is saying now, we're going to go into this next passage where that same man that he has just described in these word pictures takes on Dowd's most effective foe. And it is Dowd's most effective foe, God's most effective foe that we face. And so this is what he has done. He has set this up as a there's a really happy dog right
He
there.
probably just broke wind.
I don't know. Maybe so. We're going to put him down. I think I actually think he wants to go see Perry, who is now in this chair. He is. Yep, that's exactly what he wanted. You can see that's Perry in the happy seat over there. Before we move on to the next line, Perry, you've had a chance to process this, although a lot of this happened as you were moving. But now that you're here, what do you think about what we've just read?
Well, it all starts to make sense when you look at the Torah and how it all plays out at the end. And
can you hear him, by the way?
Yes.
a little
On your
bit echo.
mic. I can hear him
Okay,
on your
because
mic.
I'm not hearing him in my headset. I'm just hearing him from.
It's me.
Pardon?
It's me.
Okay, so it's we'll get him
Okay.
back. Okay, go ahead, Perry.
well, it all fits together as a story. You know, this all has to play out a certain way for it all to work out. And that's what's the most amazing thing that's come out in the last month or so, that it makes sense now finally.
Yeah, the biggest challenge along the way, and then we'll go to this next statement. The biggest challenge along the way is to figure out how could God keep his people and plan apace? What did he do when, Pesach, Matzah, and Pekorim, he couldn't fulfill them any old time. They had to be fulfilled on year 4,000 Yah, and on Pesach, on Matzah, and on Pekorim in year 4,000 Yah. And he had to have, there's only one person on the planet that could fulfill it, and he had to be there. And he had to be in the right attitude, and he had to be supported in the right way. And he couldn't send him until he was in the right attitude and is in this present life where he fell off so far away from Yahweh that they weren't even talking anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that had to be rectified. So you can see that God is constantly trying to intervene when he needs to resolve this. And he knew what Moshe's strengths were, but he knew that Moshe needed help, particularly with those Israelites. There was no way those Israelites were going to follow him. The last time they saw Moshe, they told him to go away. They were going to turn him in. And so someone had to be there. And so when Moshe hears of my Dowd and Dowd with the spirit of Yahweh, speaking for Yahweh, he doesn't say, I have no idea who those guys are. He knows exactly who those guys are. That's why he says, no, this is really good. Because they were there the whole time with him. You just recognize it. That's why I said I was reading the 12th Psalm the other day out there in our ocean studio. And I said, oh my God, I don't even know how I can continue because I've just seen what's actually taking place here. I know where I was in 33 CE. And I know where Leo was in 33 CE. Well, at least I was smart enough to cut a deal with God that says, I'll go do all these things, but I get to bring my wife with me. I really like my wife. I really love my wife. And she's really smart. She's a huge contributor. I want to do these things with her, not without her. And so I saw us there.
That was probably an easy
That's
sell.
that was pretty amazing. It's miraculous the way you and Leah were able to repair Dowd's Nesama.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that the support that you were there, eyewitness, word witness, you were there to support him as he endured from Pesach into Matzah when he went to Sheol.
It was actually more than just being a witness. I don't know if I'll ever flesh all that out, but I did go to the 22nd Mizmowr, and I looked at it with fresh eyes, and it's there. So no, I was a lot more than a witness. But at that point, we have so much invested in him. He's our adopted son, and we love him. And there's no way we're letting him go off and do something like this on his own. Right? We're there with him. And so you see how God makes this possible. And it's an ingenious plan. And so he found a couple of personalities that he could use in this way. And I am also convinced, and I'll develop it maybe more over time. Maybe we don't need to know it at this point and we'll develop it later. But the fact is that Yahweh's first encounter with Dowd was not when he was an 8-year-old shepherd down there in Bethlehem when he's told Shamuel, no, go retrieve the other one. And God says, that my criterion for picking people is different than yours. And this is the one that I have chosen. And he anoints him and puts his spirit upon him. There is a 0% possibility that was the first meeting between Dowd and Yahweh.
Sure.
Dowd did something that got Yahweh's attention. And I could never imagine who that could be until I saw Dowd at his worst. And then I knew who that was. Now they have a relationship that goes way back. So that's exactly the right thing. What we're seeing is how the timeline all unfolds. And when you begin to see it, your first response is, this is going to be way beyond anybody that is a casual listener. There might be a really bright secular Jew out there that says, oh my, this is exactly as I would have suspected it. Makes perfect sense to me. It's like when you all were listening, maybe I was doing a talk radio show years and years ago on some subject, and you listen and say, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now I understand. Yeah. I want to go read what that guy has done because that makes sense. And that's how we all came together. And I'm sure there's going to be some Yehudim and some Yisraelites out there and some more Goy who are going to come to that position. But the fact is, we're out of time for that. That's not our job anymore. Our job is to establish ourselves under those criterion that God's looking for so that he can use us as a team going forward, because this job cannot be done individually. It just cannot. You have to have a team that you're relying on. And that team has to be family. And that's why when Leah said, I'm happy for Mariah, she's celebrating Shabbat with her husband. What was our response? Every time that we're around that woman, every time, and I've never met her personally, I mean, just online, but I've known her online for 10 years. She's spectacular. She's attitude, aptitude. She's the kind of person that you would say, oh, yeah, I'd be happy to work with her and to have her part of a team. And that you could rely on her without ever questioning her motives or attitude or anything else. And that's what we're developing. And so that is why we've, I think, had the floodgates open up. So I don't think you can share this with other people that it's going to resonate with them. But
really
we have hundreds and hundreds of presentations of the Yahweh vlog, up to close to 1,000 hours of it now, and 25,000 pages of books. They don't have to start where we are.
That's right.
There's a lot of great places to start. Yes, Kirk.
Quick question. All this material that you put together so brilliantly and is beautiful. I'm staggered by what you and Joe and all the family has been doing. But will that be available up until the time we return?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so that's going to be protected. It'll still be out there in the ether, so they can get a hold to it and read it. If
nothing ever disappears from the web.
No, in fact, I was talking to Joe about these new additions that we're adding and the various layers that we're adding. I said, if you're able to do all of this, it takes it from a tool that is going to be effective over the next year to one that's effective over the next 7 years to one that's effective over the next 1,000 years.
Yeah.
This is our home. This is our base. This is where we're going to disseminate information. And even Joe said, yeah, I agree. I think that we can make it that good. I think we can make it such that it is our base going forward. And that was a huge turning point for me, for Joe, as now that's what we're building now. We're building this for that 1,000-year period of Sukkah. I have come to the conclusion that Kevin was right. And you were the first one to say it. There's not enough time left. We need to shift gears.
Yeah, no, that's important.
You okay with that, JB, or is that pretty radical to you?
No, that makes, like, at this point, we're leaving a legacy. There's going to be 2.5, 3.5 years where we're not going to be here. We got to have something left behind for people to see.
Correct.
There may
But,
be
you know,
those who find it in that
You'll be
time.
lucky.
yeah, and during that period, with this legacy and with us gone, and then somebody's going to say, you know, first I want to check into this because that's pretty extraordinary, and they really did disappear. Now let me read what they have, and then when we reappear on the Temple Mount, that's going to be the people that are ready to listen and become part of that Taruw'ah gleaning before even the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah. That is the impetus that puts them in the position where they're ready. And the beauty of that is it's going to be such a deadly time that we're entering over these next 7 years, that those people who make that determination will be spared from the carnage. They will survive it.
Because I think we all
Yeah, the
probably know
chariots are
enough
worldwide.
people we've shared this with, that when the Shabuw'ah harvest happens, they're going to go, oh, you know, that maybe they were on to something.
Yeah, maybe they're onto something. Yeah, but it's not going to be a lot of us. So it's going to be just as we read in YadaYah. Most people are having no clue what happened, and that's fine because we're not trying to reach a lot of people. I have changed radically over my lifetime, going from an introvert that always knew that this life was going to lead to something like this, to being an extrovert because I didn't like being an introvert. It was just too frustrating for me. I don't know how you would ever accomplish what I thought was in store as an introvert. So I taught myself to be an extrovert. I learned the skills to be an extrovert. I'm not going to be an extrovert going forward. I'm going to become an introvert again. And I think I was an introvert. I think Dowd's an introvert. I think most of us are introverts, which means we're really comfortable around a small number of groups of people that we really enjoy their company, and enjoy that tremendously. Enjoy Yahweh's company tremendously. But our goal is not to have a mob enter the millennial Shabbat or for us to be part of a mob going forward. We're going to do our job. We'll set up the proper example. We'll teach, but God's not trying to have a mob. I'm telling you, he would have been happy just with Dowd. Now, he couldn't have just Dowd without other people being part of it, and it's going to be a lot more interesting with more of us than it would be with fewer of us. But this is not going to be a crowded event. When we all sit around the campfire, when we are celebrating Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, going forward throughout that 1,000-year period, and we're still singing songs together and enjoying the Moed Mikre, we're all going to be able to. We'll all know each other's name. We'll know who each other are, and I think that's a marvelous part of this. All right, Rich, you want to chime in to this, or?
This has been a wonderful experience. I mean, I like to tease you and ask you how old you are, and that kind of started this summer, and it's been like an onion. You peel off another layer after layer, and it became, we talked about, it's obvious that somehow some souls are being inserted in certain time periods. And there was so we were like, there's a handful of souls that Yahweh truly loves. And he's, and now that you've pieced all this together, it answers those questions. I don't have to ask how old you are, but it's at least 5,000 years. But you guys have been around a long time, and probably including Dowd and even Elia.
And it's true. Just like Kevin, you were the first one that came to the realization that we're not here to solicit a throng of people for Shabuw'ah. There's no time for that anymore. So what are we here for? We're here to nurture and support and teach this inner circle of people that are going to go forward. And Rich is very similar on what he just said. He came to the idea that you've been here before. This is not your first time through this material, and you are now figuring out exactly what your role has been and is going forward. And that was before I came to these conclusions. But then you see it with fresh eyes and you say, oh, I know exactly what that's talking about now. And I think it's important for us to know what our role is, and why God's so into this role and what's going to happen. Okay, so we're going to go forward here. It says, "You batter and bruised," or you can make it future tense. You will batter and bruise. It's written in the perfect, so the perfect would mean that it's a completed action. Now, completed actions, our mindset is the completed actions are something that's already taken place, but that's not the way that the perfect works. It's an action that is not ongoing. It happens at a finite period of time, but that finite period of time can be the past, the present, or in the future. So it could be you will batter and you will bruise, defeating, because it's in the perfect. You will reject and you will overthrow, crushing the oppressor, shattering while making contrite the slander. That which should be compared to the reprehensible and pervasive, the diseased and deadly, the deplorable and defiling nature of the ever popular. So this is kaha shalal. This is describing the menace that we're up against. So God has now said that the continuing rolling and agitating waves of the sea with the stones interspersed in them, that person that is going to quiet the situation, those stones and those waves are going to batter and bruise something that is now being compared to that which is reprehensible. That's not good. But it's not just reprehensible. It's pervasive. We're not talking about an isolated situation here. This is something that is quite popular. Reprehensible, pervasive, diseased, deadly, deplorable, defiling, but ever popular. The profane and pervasive, polluting and desecrating associations which commonly corrupt, which lead to divorce, which fatally wound, which pierce and slay. It's from chalah, which is to sicken and to weaken, to inflict with the disease of, and here's that name, Rahab.
Rahab.
You're going to want to know that name, Rahab. This is the name that Yahweh chose, and we'll develop this. Rahab. Rahab is the conceited and contentious, loudmouth and pretentious afflictor, the emboldened, confusing, and audacious monster with the mythical God. Rahab, arrogant and stormy, frenzied and haughty, insolent and idolatrous, defiant and overly verbose, senseless and insubordinate, self-absorbed and self-motivated, an abuser, falsely claiming divine status and authorization at the least opportune time while soliciting religious worship.
Sounds like X.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, I wonder who that might be. Do you think
Did he
it's the
give a-
same guy that I deduced after studying the book of Daniel again and studying Ezekiel and putting all the pieces together of the prophetic portrayal of this individual? And same guy, huh?
The copper confabulator who gave some silly address the other night?
Yep. That's the one. That is the one. Okay, so I'm going to read it again from the beginning without so much commentary, and then we're going to continue through it because God's got some more to say about this. You will batter and bruise, defeating that which should be compared to the reprehensible and pervasive, diseased and deadly, deplorable and defiling nature of the ever popular. Well, he is exceedingly popular, obviously, in Israel. Rahab, the conceited and contentious one, loudmouth, pretentious afflictor, the emboldened, confusing, and audacious monster with his mythical God. With you're empowered and fortified, courageous and confident, unyielding and resolute, Boaz. Ba-oz, which is exactly how you spell the name of Boaz, as in Ruth's husband, as in the name of that column that's on the north side of the temple porch. Boaz. Your empowered Boaz, Zarowa. Your strong arm, the one cultivating the harvest on behalf of the sacrificial lamb. You isolate and separate your adversaries. Mizmowr lyrics to sing, Psalm 89:10. Now understand here, this is Ethan is Rocky. He's telling us, actually he's telling Dowd, by speaking to Yahweh, what Yahweh is going to do and what he has done. He's fully aware of where he's going. And so he has just said that guy from the sea, from the west, who is so agitating like the relentless waves, who is really into the word pictures, that it's that guy that is going to be used to batter and bruise and defeat, to reject and overthrow, to crush, to shatter, to make contrite the slander of that which is comparable to reprehensible, pervasive, disease, deadly, deplorable, defiling nature of the ever popular Rahab. So this Rahab, he is not some little guy in a hovel. This is not some little rat out there. This is not a lone wolf. This is a man with a big support, not only in the nation that ultimately betrays Israel, the United States, but in Israel itself. And he is the most popular person in Israel now. They review him or think of him as the second coming of Cyrus. He's going to call himself God. This is Donald Trump. And it's Donald Trump, you might say, okay, with just a Weasley man that's vicious. I mean, he's all these things. He's the copper confabulator. He's diseased. He's deadly. He's deplorable. He's very popular, but he is defiling. And he is conceited. He's contentious. He's loudmouthed. He's pretentious. He is emboldened. He's confusing. He's audacious. And he's going to present himself as a god. So, yeah, all right. So you might say, so what's the big deal? He's a 80-year-old man with a disgusting attitude. Why would God make such a big deal about taking him down? Because we're going to read, because there's 4 places where Rahab is mentioned. This is one of the 4. We're going to read the other 3. And when you read the other 3, you know who this man is? And he is much more than a man. He's Satan incarnate. This is Satan. That's the reason why I said that with Donald Trump, I said, you're looking at a demon-possessed man, and said so a year and a half ago. And it's obvious now that he is demonic. This is Satan. And that's why it's a big deal to bring him down. Because guess who can't come back until Satan is done? Dowd.
Yep.
Oh, Yahweh could know. Yeah, because he.
But
Satan is the one who, when you read the 14th chapter of Isaiah, and you realize who he wants to be, he doesn't say that he wants to be greater than God. He knows that's not possible. He says he wants to be above Elyon. And now we know who Elyon is, because in the 89th Mizmowr, Yahweh identifies Elyon as Dowd. His victim is Dowd. That's the reason why there's a Jesus Christ. I'm going to rise above Dowd. That's why there was a Bar Kokhba. I'm rising above Dowd. That's what Satan wants, because if you rise above Dowd, you eliminate the only path to salvation. You eliminate the only path to Yahweh returning. You eliminate the only path to salvaging this planet. And so he wants to be above Elyon. So guess who can't come back until that's rid? The world's rid of him.
Leon, Dowd.
So in him striking me, he will be his last blow.
Yeah.
So that is the story, and it's
But the Adam up antidote.
yes. So I'm going to read it again from the beginning, because there's more to it. It's just that it's hard to go on because each part of it is so powerful. So you're going to batter and bruise, defeating. that which should be compared to the reprehensible and pervasive, the disease, deadly and deplorable, the defiling nature of the ever popular Rahab, the conceited and contentious loudmouth, pretentious afflicter, the emboldened, confusing, and audacious monster with his mythical God, doing so with your empowered and fortified, courageous and confident, unyielding and resolute Boaz, Zarowa, strong arm, the one cultivating the harvest on behalf of the sacrificial lamb. You isolate and separate your adversaries. So this sentence and the previous pronouncement, the one that led to it, are coupled. That's why we spent so much time on them. The impactful stones flung out of the raging sea by the Gorim, the Goy from the west, that's on Yahweh's behalf. And they're going to have a battering and bruising effect on the most arrogant and boisterous of monsters, Satan, and his political and religious stalwarts, including the man that he has possessed. This is partly true with the great betrayer, Satan incarnate, Donald Trump, and of his following, as he is, or I shouldn't say partly true, it's particularly true, it's absolutely true of the great betrayer, Satan incarnate, Donald Trump, and his following. And by the way, we're not attacking Donald Trump because we're flaming liberals. We're not. In fact, I would say most of us would probably be too conservative to be Republicans. So we're not coming at it from a progressive Marxist point of view. We're coming at this from the point of view of we're students of the Torah and prophets. God described who this person was going to be, and there's a perfect match with Donald Trump, and we're opposed to Hasatan. So that's why we're opposed to him. Now, there's a lot of other reasons to be opposed to him. He's an absolute flaming nincompoop, but that's a better one. So he is the one to whom we were forewarned by the prophets. Now, just as the 89th Mizmowr speaks directly to Dowd in the here and now to pull him out of his current stupor, its larger mission is to reintroduce the Messiah as our Savior while announcing the King's return. That is the primary purpose of this song. And that is why Ha is Rocky is addressing the man from the west who will emerge from the sea, becoming the final authorized and empowered, the Boaz Zarowa. And in support of Dowd and Yisrael, he must defeat Rahab before the king's return. When we're introduced to Ruth, and she is questioned, who are you? I am your Amma, the productive mother that is credited for intervening on behalf of Dowd. And then she tells Boaz, I'm going to bring you the kinsman redeemer. Guess what? That's what we're witnessing in this. This is the deliverance of the kinsman redeemer through Boaz, who is the final Zarowa. And guess who's also on the scene once again? Miss Leah as the Amma. It's a team project. So as we discovered when investigating the identity of Ethan Ha Izraki, it was he who wrote the Mashal, doing so in service to Dowd and to Solomon. That was his purpose. And as a result, he is developing another word picture here, portraying himself as if he were a slew of rocks, stones embedded within the surging waves of the sea to be abrasive when beating down Rahab, the conceited and confounding afflicter. He is saying that Yahweh has lauded his effort and he's issued exuberant statements because he will have the ability to calm that situation in a moral way without all of the attention of God reemerging as a column of fire. God's not going to have to reemerge until this is all cleared up. So it is clear from Ethan's assessment that the influence of Rahab will be as deplorable as this combination of man and demon is deadly and defiling. And because of his popular appeal, particularly as he garners the trust of Israel, only to betray God's people, boy, they really make a mess of things this time by Israel not being able, and that we tried so hard on X to let Israel know, and on Facebook to let Israeli influencers and thought leaders know, don't be touting Donald Trump. You think he is your big ally. No, he is your betrayer. And the prophets have spoken. He's your betrayer. And if you don't recognize that, you're going to be betrayed by him, and you're going to, millions of Israelis are going to lose their lives. We tried so hard, and it didn't resonate with them. Not surprised. So the individual framed by this name is defined as conceited and contentious, confounding and confusing. He is a loudmouth and audacious politician who is both chaotic and frenzied, and yet still popular, particularly among Jews. Today, one does not have to be a genius to deduce that Ha-Ezraki is directing our attention to the mercurial, egomaniacal confabulator, Donald J. Trump. Affirming this conclusion, we will consider how Ethan came upon this name. He didn't pluck this name from obscurity. But before we do, there's an interesting note here that Rahab is Yahweh's Oeb adversary, making him either Hasatan, the adversary, or someone directly affiliated with Satan. Further, he is being taken down, battered and bruised through the conviction and confidence exhibited by Yahweh's Boaz Zarowa. This isn't just your Zarowa. And a lot of times Yahweh will have Oz in front of Zarowa. This time it's Boaz Zarowa. So this is a battle royale, the ultimate showdown. I've always said that Yom Taruw'ah is going to be the greatest show on earth. It's going to be a doozy. So recognizing this, the Zarowa's identity was obvious to Ha-Ezraki, because he knew that, well, there would be three of them: Moshe, Dowd, and YadaYah. Therefore, cognizant of the fact that this song was written to restore Dowd's relationship with Yahweh, and then reestablishing the king's reputation with Israel, this Zarowa cannot be Dowd, even though he would become the most glorious of them on Passover as the Pesach El. Now, we know this to be true because the one bringing Rahab down is from the sea. So, therefore, he is a goy. And this victim wouldn't materialize for another 2,000 years. Not Dowd. So in this context, Ethan is letting Dowd know that he will not be serving alone, and he is not going to have to come back to a contentious world where Satan exists anymore. The man talking to him is going to be used by Yahweh to take Satan out of the picture. Now, that's quite a responsibility. And the king isn't the only one being asked to fulfill a Moedim, because this doesn't happen just on a random day. This happens on Taruw'ah with the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah. And the face of this demonic adversary is far worse than the influence of Rome in Judea in 33 CE. So the man closest to Dowd in service to God, Ethan, the perpetually reoccurring, the resolute, the continuously deployed, the eternally engaged one, which is the definition of Ethan, is the one engendering Dowd's trust. And he is demonstrating too will have plenty of skin in the game. Now, this is no game, but it's the plot of God's story. And skin in the game is a very effective colloquial phrase that says that you're not just a storyteller here. You're a player. You're committed. Like when I wrote Prophet of Doom, and then later Goddamn Religion, and the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion to expose and condemn Islam, to save Israel from Islam and from Satan, who is the god of Islam. it's getting into the game. I've
Target on
received
your back.
many,
Yeah.
many thousands of death threats. It's called skin in the game. Are you willing to take a shot for the common good? That's what Dowd did on Pesach. Are you willing to endure that for the good of many? So he is demonstrating that he too will have skin in the game and that he will shed his blood for Israel and for the Melech king. So even as the world disregards what Dowd has achieved, the final empowered Zarowa will take the opposite approach. He will cultivate the Shabuw'ah and the Taruw'ah harvest such that the king's subsequent homecoming on Yom Kippurim will be well attended. It's going to be appropriately celebrated. Be no interference. He is therefore in the best position to reassure Dowd that while reestablishing his reputation on the cusp of his return is very, very good, and he should be appreciative of that, then no one on the planet knows the king better at this point, or cares more about him, or will do more for his benefit than the man delivering this message. That's what's being conveyed here. He's taken down the big guy. This is a guy much bigger than Goliath. This is Satan. So these things considered, under normal circumstances, we would have several options when translating Zarowa, for example. In the Torah, it addresses the sacrificial lamb, making it symbolic of Dowd fulfilling Passover. It is also used with regard to Moshe, who served as the extension of the arm of God when liberating the Israelites from captivity. And yet, we are also aware that the title is defined by its verbal root, which is Zerah. And what does Zerah means there, JB? Seeds. Seeds which are sown, cultivated for a harvest. And that is the definition of Zarowa as it applies to the last of them. And that's the definition that's applicable to this situation. Therefore, since this Zarowa is being wielded by Yahweh at a time that he is being equated to the stones that are in those crashing waves of the sea that are so agitating and abusive and aggressive, and when he is said to be Ba'oz, brimming with confidence and conviction, while empowered as resolute and steadfast. As a Zarowa, the very strong arm in God that is cultivating this harvest, he's engaged in bruising and besting the adversary. Now, again, we're mortal men. You know, there's only so much we can do. But when we're empowered by God, when we have conviction and we are trusting and reliant on God, there is nothing we can't accomplish. So this is Yada. This is the Nakri. This is the Choder. This is the man from Edom. Ethan is speaking of himself to reassure the king and to assert his right to write this psalm and then explain it as we approach the end. So it's not just delivering this message to Dowd. It's then using this message to make it possible for Dowd to be appreciated again and return. This psalm is not just used once. It's being used now for exactly the same purpose. So speaking of reassurance, it isn't the only time that the Zarowa title appears in this psalm. It also speaks of Dowd. Moreover, Zarowa is essential to the prophecy pertaining to the Nakri delivered by Shalomo, right? Always woven in. And it was used by YadaYah when introducing the Passover lamb in the 53rd chapter of Isaiah, was it not? It says, you want to understand this, you better figure out the identity of the one who knows who the Zarowa are. Telling us that the man who comes to recognize their identity is the one who can properly explain the prophecy of the sacrificial lamb. Therefore, while Yada is the final Zarowa, there's just no other candidate for that job. The arm of God cultivating the seeds, and don't be envious because that's the last thing you want to do is to step into these shoes at this time. He is the most formidable weapon Yahweh will have ever wielded against Satan, the way he's using him. And it is why our relationship began by exposing and condemning the adversary's role in Islam and his propensity to be genocidal against Yehudim. Remember I said that I need to know more about why that Dome of the Rock is there, why it's an embarrassment to Islam, why it's going to be removed when I return. There's no person more qualified to stand on that Temple Mount and to speak to Jews with the Islamic scars removed than I am after having written those 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion, excoriating Allah and Muhammad and Islam. That's why you couldn't do this job without having written that. And you couldn't do this job without having written the 5 volumes of Christianity. So when all those Christians out there says, no, you're speaking of our Jesus. He's the Son of God. He's the Messiah. No, he isn't. He absolutely isn't. And so you had to have that to be among those stones that are quieting this situation. You know, he took down Goliath with a stone. This time it's going to take more than one stone. The target's a little bigger. So it's why our relationship, as I said, began by taking down Islam. That's why the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion were buttressed with 5 more in Christianity, eviscerating Satan's diabolical influence and turning Christianity into the plague of death for Jews by robbing Dowd of his dignity and his achievements. No one in all of human history has ever written as much or been as effective when excoriating Satan's religious ploys. Now, while I stand with Yahweh, we stand alone in this regard. And it's important. You back to Kevin's conclusion up there. Our focus now is us getting prepared for what we're going against. And you need to know now that we're going against Satan and that we're responsible for bringing him down. So, you know, if you're timid, this would be a good time to bail. I wouldn't recommend it because we prevail. I'd hang in there. We do prevail. And so, but you need to know who you're going against. And that's what makes this prophecy presenting the demise of Rahab at the hands of Boaz Zarowa so relevant for then and for now. Hard to even recognize I met Leah because God told her to go ask Ruth, and Ruth talked about Boaz and being the Amma, this productive woman, and how we're going to deliver the kinsman redeemer. And so, as to not let this opportunity pass without gleaning as much as we can from this pronouncement, let's see how much more we can learn about the identity of Rahab in connection with how this prophecy regarding the battle against Yahweh's fortified Zarowa will take place. And this is the missing piece that didn't exist in the previous renditions. I came up with Rahab. I translated it accurately, just not completely. And I didn't take the time to translate all of the other places where it's mentioned. And the reason I didn't is that I had no idea who Ethan Ha-Izraki was. I had no idea what I thought the purpose of this was just to help us understand that Dowd is the Messiah and our Savior and the Son of God who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim in 33 CE. Oh, that was the purpose of it. And now you realize what the real purpose of this was and who it was written by. Now when you see a name like the stones that are agitating from the sea are going to batter and bruise the ever popular and the antagonizing egomaniacal Rahab, and you know who that is, and you know who God is speaking of, now you're going to look it up.
You know, that's why I think one of the smartest things you do is
where this leads. So, and since there are 4 passages. We've just considered one. Let's see how this one relates to the other 3. So beginning with the 89th Mizmor, so that it's foremost in our minds, I'll read through that again, and then we're going to go to the other 3. You convey mashal portraits comprised of words when exercising your authority, gloriously triumphing with the surging sea, agitating by majestically raising the illustrious and reoccurring force of the one from the west who can be abrasive. By lifting up his rolling stones and rocks among the turbulent waves as a witness, you laud and extol them with exuberant statements, commending their value, eliminating the noise, calming the chaos, and quieting the situation through them. You're going to batter and bruise, reject and silence, crushing that which should be compared to the reprehensible and pervasive, the diseased and deplorable, the deadly nature of the ever-popular Rahab, the conceited and contentious, loud-mouthed afflictor, the emboldened, confusing, the audacious monster with the mystical God. Through your Boaz Zarowa, you're empowered, fortified, courageous, confident, and unyielding, resolute, strong arm cultivating the harvest. You isolate and separate your adversaries. The reason there were stones in those waves is that the adversary is manifest in a number of places. He's Allah. He's Jesus. He's Hashem. He's Judaism. He's Islam. He's Christianity. He's MAGA. He is Donald Trump. He is the worst of America. He is all of that. He is Netanyahu. One stone isn't going to get it done this time. Rahab is likely Yahweh's most formidable foe, his adversary. And being adversarial, Rahab is deplorable while pervasive. He is equated to the reprehensive pandemic disease spread by popular appeal, which would make him very equivalent to Pauline Christianity. Fortunately, Rahab is thwarted by the Mashal, Proverbs, inspired by Yahweh and scribed by Ethan. The surging sea that God brings against Rahab through exuberant statements calms the chaos that he has infused into politics. Ultimately, Yahweh's empowered and emboldened Zarowa triumphs against him, silencing and crushing the adversary. It's going to wield words at them, and those words are going to really bite. Now, this is prophetically pointing towards Yada's library of words, YadaYah, the volumes positioned against the satanic religions. YadaYah.com. I'm glad we went there at the beginning of this program. Twistianity. That volumes are appalling, Toraless, Devil's Advocate, Incredible, and Foolology. Goddamn Religion. The volumes are Snake, Satanic, Submission, Slaughter, and Sunnah. Babel. The series books individually are Beast, Abominable, and Venomous. In addition to YadaYah, particularly Time of Trouble, where this is all laid out, which prophetically identifies this beast and the harvest, which specifies the circumstances under which this adversary meets his doom. And also relevant, all of this pertains to Dowd, because Christianity stole his legacy. Islam murdered his people. Judaism took them all away from him. And the events of the last days all lead to the king's return. So regarding Rahab, as we know, YadaYah, Isaiah 14, is devoted entirely to exposing and condemning this arrogant Babylonian beast and confabulator with a diabolical legacy. But since Satan appears there by the name of Halal ben Shakar, let's turn to the other places where the adversary bears this particularly menacing title, Rahab. Now, recognizing that it is the most confusing of the 3, we'll start there. The first of these chronologically is found in the Mizmor Psalms. It's in 87:4. The reasons for concern are that it's short, 7 lines, were scripted by the sons of Korah. men with a highly checkered past. The Mizmowr would have been written by those in service to Dowd, but it affords YadaYah credit for founding the city of Dowd as opposed to Dowd. It says that Jacob lived there, which is not the case unless his name is being used as a metaphor for Israel. But even then, they would have just moved in moments before. And after saying that significant things are spoken of the city of God without mentioning one, the lyrics abruptly transition to remembering Rahab, whose only prior mention was as a prostitute in Jericho, serving Israeli spies. Nevertheless, this Rahab is associated with Babylon, and the message is said to be a warning to the Philistines, to the Phoenicians. It reads, Mizmowr, melodious lyrics of a song of the sons of Korash, which means bald. The foundation is by him, and within this set-apart mount. Yahweh loves the gates of Zion, the signs posted along the way, more than all of the other dwelling places of Jacob. Reward or consequence, 87:2. Significant and weighty, notoriety as distinguishing and honorable things, Kobed, are spoken within you, city of the Almighty. Salah, ponder the implications. I remember and recall Rahab, the conceited and contentious, loudmouth afflictor, this confusing and audacious monster, and his mythical god, and Babel, the confounding confusion by commingling in Babylon. Approach those who are familiar with YadaYah and who know me. This was YadaYah written in the participle. Behold and beware, Philistine, those calling yourself Palestinians who are currently rolling in the dust. Soar the flint and knife of Tyre, and those with Cush who are boring and digging tunnels. Prophecy is something that God's pretty good at. This was conceived there by this name. And of Zion, the signs posted along the way, it will be said, one man and then another individual were conceived for her. Then he himself will establish, develop, prepare, and appoint her steadfast and ready for Elion, for all things pertaining to the influence of God. In writing down a written record of the people and family, it's this one who was conceived and brought forth, thereby this name and renown. Shalom, ponder the implications. So singers in harmony with dancers, all my springs and sources of life are with you. Mizmowr Psalms 87:7. Did anybody ever say that figuring out all the word pictures was going to be easy and that any fool could do it? No, it takes a special fool, I think, to do that. Was pretty tricky, wasn't it? But there were some things in it that were pretty clear, and some things that were, well, yeah, it's a head scratcher. But we're not at a period now where we can let anything go. We're going to turn over every rock. So while I cannot attest to their credentials as prophets, these balding sons of traitors foresaw that the events pertaining to Rahab would eventually play out on and around the Temple Mount in the city of Dowd. This Babylonian adversary would covet the place that Yahweh loves. Babylonian adversary means that he confounds and confuses by mixing truth with lies. And he's going to covet the place Yahweh loves above all others. The 29th of January, 2030, Rahab moves to Jerusalem sets up shop in Jerusalem. By implication, Rahab would try to would try to erase the Zion, the signs posted along the way, and misdirected. He will try to misdirect the world through Babel, through confounding, confusion, commingling religion and politics. He's going to be a confabulator. Now, those who have become familiar with Yahweh through Yada are invited to approach at this time, is what it says. By contrast, not just invited to approach, you're encouraged to approach, but you got to know what you're up against. By contrast, the knife-wielding Palestinians emerging from their tunnels and all covered in dust are being warned to stay away. It's Israel and Yahud who were born there. You have no claim as Muslims. According to the prophecy, two men would work together, both associated with the signs of Zion, both devoted to Jerusalem. They were conceived for this purpose. And as a result, they are established, they're prepared, they're appointed by God such that they are ready and reliable. That means observant and trustworthy. The reference in this, that they are positioned to serve as is the city of God, Jerusalem, because it is the last feminine singular reference within the Mizmowr. And ultimately, these two men are so enmeshed into Jerusalem at this point. And the HaKodesh, the set apart mount, which is where we'll be speaking from and where Dowd will return, that they are there to serve and prepare the world for Elyon, for Dowd, for all things pertaining to the influence of Almighty God. And Elyon, as we will discover and later in the 89th Mizmowr, and we've already shared previously, is Dowd, according to God, symbolizing his restored reputation upon his return with Yahweh. It is then a portrayal of Yada serving Dowd. So ultimately, this is a prophetic portrayal of the showdown on the Temple Mount. It is in opposition to the conceited and contentious Rahab as the confabulator using Babylonian tactics. At different times and also together, two men will work as one, both conceived for this purpose. And those who ponder the implications of what they achieved by fulfilling the Moedim in the city of Dowd will be among those singing and dancing as the fountains of life are released within the set-apart mount to restore the souls of those who will be cleansed on this day. And in this regard, Satan's final death blow will be his undoing. When he manifests as Donald Trump, slays me as the Adamah Parah, the bullish and productive man, on Yom Taruw'ah, the day of the herald, my nephesh soul, and Rahab's Ruach spirit, at that moment, will head in different directions. And so all of this is to affirm that we have correctly identified the nature and the timing and the location of the great Rahab showdown. And there's more. In YadaYah, Isaiah 37, Rahab is among the beasts of the Negeb. That places him in the land of Israel during the time of trouble. Opposing the Ephayah, the hissing and negating viper, and the flying Sharaf, flying serpent, fiery serpent, is going to be a Labia, which is the roaring heart of a white lioness, and a Lish, a boldly ferocious mature lion. I'm going to share that again because that's a lot to process. But so opposing the Ephayah. The Ephayah is a hissing and negating viper. This flying seraph, fiery serpent, will be YadaYah, a roaring heart in a white lioness, and a lish, a boldly ferocious, mature lion. God likes word pictures, man. And he paints them so they're interesting. So this is painted so the way that Yahweh likes to tell stories. The roaring woman and mature man with a considerable bite, represented here by the lions, defeat the hissing viper and his accompanying flying fiery serpent. As this occurs, the most capable of his combatants and his belligerents will be carried off by donkeys, it says, and their supplies by camels. This is to infer that they will be Arab Muslims and thus jihadists that'll be working for Rahab. They will be the implements of death. And of them, God says that they are worthless and they are inept. Having written Goddamn Religion, I concur. All the while, the one who controls and oppresses through religion and politics, along with his military, which he will have been engaged, constraining and abusing people, will abandon Israel. This is the great betrayal. Satan and his stooge will do nothing, is what the prophecy says. Their prior promises will be rendered utterly meaningless as nothing more than delusional and empty words without merit. In other words, when he says, oh, you give up this slice of territory, no big deal, and I'll have your back. I'll promise that America will defend you. I'll come to your defense. Mm-hmm. No, I won't. He just steps out of the way. Having made promises to defend Israel, he and they will betray God's people. Now, this is confirmed because, as we know from our prior studies of YadaYah, Isaiah 17 and 18, the great betrayer is the demon-possessed, egomaniacal, sexually perverted, diabolically vicious, cannibalistic Donald Trump, who will have been president of the United States of America. He and his satanic partner are Rahab. This is the message Yahweh was emphatic in having YadaYah commit to writing, so that as we approach the last days, I could read it, understand it, explain it, and share it with you. So with that introduction, here's that prophecy. Now we're turning to YadaYah. A prophetic announcement about the impending burden of the beasts of the Negeb, of the parched, within the land of Sarah, of anguishing confinement and trouble, even oppression when besieged and in dire straits. The YadaYah, roaring heart of the white lioness, and the lish, the boldly ferocious mature lion, will be against them. This Ephayah, hissing and negating viper, and the flying seraph, fiery serpent. Guess what that might be, huh? Their strongest and most capable fighters will be carried away upon asses and donkeys, and upon the humps of camels. Their treasury and arsenal of food supplies, even among a people who have no value or benefit whatsoever and will not succeed, nor will they accomplish anything. Then the assistance and support, the Azar, of Mitzrayim, the one who controls and oppresses through politics, religion, and the military, abusing and restricting people, will be for naught and in vain, utterly meaningless and a waste of breath, a delusional fantasy of empty words without merit. And as a result, and for these reasons, I will call what pertains to this individual man Rahab, him. They're conceited and contentious, loudmouthed and pretentious, confusing and audacious afflictor, and their monstrous mythical god. Incapacitated, sitting this one out, doing nothing. Isaiah 37. So now go, because it is imperative that you write it upon a tablet to accompany them, and also upon a written document, whether a scroll or a book. You must inscribe it, as if engraving it by chiseling it in stone, portraying it as if already decreed. Then it will come to exist, pursuant to a day in the end, for the odd, the restoring witness, the odd of the eternal testimony, and continuously providing evidence throughout time, olam, from antiquity into perpetuity, into the future and forevermore. YadaYah, Isaiah 38. It is, as the prophets foretold. Donald Trump has been possessed by Satan. He is the great betrayer of Israel. The only rational conclusion that can be deduced from these depictions, as they are presented in Isaiah, Daniel, Ezekiel even, in addition to the Psalms. In alliance with Satan, they have become the embodiment of Rahab, egocentric as a man, and a false god as a spirit. Fortunately, they have met their match in the Acharon, in the end, as a result of the ad, restoring witness to the ad, eternal testimony, who continually provides evidence throughout all time, olam, from antiquity into perpetuity and into the future and forevermore. He's taken down with words wisely wielded. Even though we have resolved the identity of Rahab, we have not yet completed our evaluation of the prophetic implications conveyed throughout the prophets, and particularly about this adversarial demonic duo, because Rahab is also the subject of YadaYah, Isaiah 51:9. Isaiah was very keen to tell us specifically what we needed to do. It was written for us to understand. So we should not be surprised that 2 of the 4 explanations of who Rahab are, and this last one was really articulate. It says Rahab is a demon-possessed man and Satan, and tells us where everything is going to transpire and how it's going to come down in the end. And so it's YadaYah that takes one more whack at this. And I want you to listen now. Because once again, the antagonist, the adversary's adversary is Yahweh's Boaz Zarowa. Although this time, rather than referring to Rahab as the integration of the hissing viper and the flying fiery serpent, he is their evil twin. He is Tanin, the monstrous serpent and diabolical dragon. So here's how it reads. Thank you for putting up with this for over 2 hours at this point. This is something I wanted us to be able to share this following statement, because it's not every day that you find out your ultimate fate in life. Your last chapter is written, at least in this volume, and what you're going to be up against. So, gentlemen, we got to buck it up. This is who we're. This is who we're fighting. You should choose to be alert and to be aroused. That'd be my advice. It was YadaYah's. He was actually speaking for Yahweh. Opting to rise up and be exposed, while uncovering and unmasking the blindness and the injustice of others. I like that. Decide of your own free will to be clothed in confidence and courage, in boldness and might, in the power and strength to accomplish anything and to withstand everything, fortified and resolute, unyielding and steadfast, Oz. As the Zarowa of Yahweh, the strong arm of God cultivating the seed sown for a productive harvest unto Yahweh. You should choose to be alert and aroused, to rise up while exposing blindness and injustice, in the manner of the days from long ago and into forevermore, from before time to eternal time. For the generations, the places, and the epochs of time, from antiquity and into the future. I think he's painting a picture of this very path that we've been talking about, going in and out of time, doing this together. Yes or no? Yes. Will it not be you? Would mean speaking of the Zarowa of Yahweh. Yes or no? Will it not be you? Who will dig the grave? Who will flash a brilliant light and then cut into pieces, carving up Rahab, the conceited and contentious, loudmouth, pretentious afflicter, the emboldened, confusing, and audacious monster, and his mythical god.
Yay.
As you pierce by showing contempt for the Tanin, this monstrous serpent and diabolical dragon. YadaYah, Isaiah 51:9. Yes or no, fellas?
Yeah.
That's the question being asked. Do you have the fortitude to do this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You do too. I'll be there with you.
That's what we're up against. So the message is clear. Rahab is the corporeal manifestation of Satan, who betrays Israel in the last days. He is demonic, he is devilish, he is conceited, he is confounding, he is loudmouth, and he is vicious. He is a senseless confabulator who is exceedingly abusive. He is the integration of Satan and Trump, who, after making all manner of promises to Israel, won't honor any of them. Promising to defend and support Israel, he will do the opposite and aid and abet her enemies, as he blames the nation's subjugation on their miscalculations rather than his own. However, as Yahweh Zarowa stands resolutely against hell's ambassadors on Taruw'ah, while serving as the Adamah Parah, the bullish man and productive bull, by striking him, they will have rendered their final blow. The Tanin, monstrous serpent, and this diabolical dragon will be no more. That is the message Ethan Ha-Izraki delivered to Dowd from Yahweh. Think of it. The blow that takes him down is he kills the man who is most adversarial to him. By killing my body, me, he destroys himself. Why? Because my body is a gift to Israel, purging them of their religiosity, any trace of anything that he has infused into their minds. He takes me down, he kills himself. It's the last blow, because he does something out of personal ego and viciousness, and I'm there on the heavenly message of, I'm here to offer myself for you, Israel, and he's there to kill. Who you're going to choose. That's going to be the choice, and that's how it's going to play out. Do you think God's got your attention now?
You better.
So, here we are. I have nothing more to add to it. I don't know if there's a conclusion, but gentlemen, that is where we are.
That's the future.
Kevin, what do you think?
I love a good dragon slaying story. You know,
boy,
That's-
we've lost sound there, Rich. I know that we had some struggles there, but I don't think we have anybody
There he is.
that's able. Okay, now you're should be live there, Kevin.
okay. Now you can hear us. You can hear me now.
He's not.
No. Okay. Yeah.
And we don't have
I
JB.
think I'm going through the.
We don't have Will. We don't have Kirk.
I can hear Kevin.
Hello?
So
We
we
can hear
may
each
have
other.
Perry. Do we have Perry?
Yeah.
No, we
Well,
don't.
I'm here. I can talk.
Yeah.
I got too many
Okay.
audio issues right now.
So we're long on audio issues. Maybe it is just a time for silence, for God to have the last word. This is he's delivered a message. It's irrefutable. I think it's inspiring. I'm tickled pink that he would trust us enough to get this done. And I'm happy to go into battle with you. That's what we're going to do.
Together as a team.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to do it collectively, and we're even going to have Leah there. She's going to do some kicking and screaming. But I think that Rahab is going to meet his match with her.
Ain't gonna have a chance.
She's going to go after him. She's going to be a big-hearted white lioness, and against him. We might all have to. Well, you're all going to be there. You might have to rein her in, but she's going to go on the attack mode.
He's going to kill the bull, and then she's
But
going
it's
to
a
kill him.
beautiful scene, actually.
Yeah.
It really is a beautiful scene because what we're being told is that last act that Israel gets to witness, and this is God's brought in all of the viable candidates for the mortal remnant of Israel that we're going to take into the return of the conditions of Eden, a retry at Gan Eden. And it's not just going to be this silly, I'm going to sacrifice a red heifer, because that wouldn't get anybody's attention. It's the guy that's been up on that wall that has spoken to them for the last 3.5 years, pleading for them, and who has spoken against Rahab and everything that he's doing and the religious on behalf of God's people. And finally, at the end, when they have tried everything they can to kill him and he's impervious, he is going to stand up eye to eye with Rahab and say, I'll show them who I am, and you show them who you are. By you killing me, you've displayed exactly who you are, and you will have lost. And by me dying for all of these people that are all around, because it's my ashes that are going to purge them of their religiosity so that they're ready for Dowd's return with YadaYah and re-entry into the garden, I will demonstrate exactly who I am. And now they have a chance to choose. There's not going to be anybody that's not crying. It's going to be exceedingly cerebral, emotional. It's God telling his story in a way that has this marvelous visual, gripping crescendo. And what's going to happen is that our souls are going to surround Dowd, and when he returns, along with YadaYah, and we're going to say, this is now your king. This is who we did this for, and this is your opportunity. Quite a story.
It is.
We don't have any outbound audio, so we're just going to say thank you to everyone, Perry, Rich, Kevin, JB, Will, Kirk, and our beloved Dr. Jeff, Leah, who has gone into the other room. She's probably in the chat room at this point. But thank you all for listening. I thank you for for coming with us on this journey. It has been pretty amazing here in this last 6 months to a year, has it not?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
So we look forward to our next program together. We'll continue to make progress through and complete the this redo of the 89th. And I think, Will, you'll find that it is indeed powerfully different in its insightfulness. The words are all translated fairly similarly. It's just that we're able to deduce a much deeper meaning from them. And after we finish this particular episode, God takes over. Everything that is said from that point on is in his voice as he extols the virtues of his son. And it is exceedingly meaningful. So thank you all. Have a wonderful Shabbat. We look forward to being with you on our next broadcast. Good day. And may Yahweh bless you all.
Hey, y'all.
Good night.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.